Starring amongst others Jamie Lee Curtis, Judy Greer, Andy Matichak, Will Patton, Virginia Gardner and Nick Castle, directed by David Gordon Green off of a screenplay that he wrote alongside Fradley and Danny McBride. This is my review for Halloween.
Put the bunny back in the box.
So this version of Halloween ignores every Halloween movie that took place after the first one back in 1978, so it's essentially Halloween 2, even though it's just called Halloween, which is the same name as the movie that it's becoming the sequel of, which is a bit odd, a bit of a strange choice. I don't know why they did that, not sure I'm cool with it. But in getting rid of all of that continuity, they've been able to give themselves somewhat of a fresh start. Here in this one, Michael Myers was arrested following the events of the first movie, and he's spent all of his life in a mental asylum. Whereas life hasn't been too kind to Laurie Strode since the events of that movie. She's now become somewhat of a Sarah Connor type character. Like, she's a bit crazy, she's a bit determined to make sure that she's always ready should Michael ever escape, and she's burnt a lot of bridges in her life because of it. Essentially, she's a very different character to the one that we saw in the first Halloween film. And this is a movie that's been getting a lot of hype. It's been billed as the one that's going to be the best Halloween movie since the first one. It's the one that's going to bring this franchise back to glory again. And, you know, for the most part, I think it succeeds. It certainly succeeds in some areas, but there are some issues that I have with it. And I kind of want to start with those. I want to start with the problems that I have with this film first, just so I can get them out of the way and then move on to the stuff that I liked, because I did really enjoy this. For one, the tone is somewhat all over the place. Like, I'm a little bit of a believer that comedy is essential to most stories. Like, doesn't matter what the story is, doesn't matter how dark the story is, comedy can work. If something makes you laugh, if something makes you feel a different emotion, when something scary or terrifying or upsetting happens, that emotion is then heightened. But it's got to be done right. It's got to be done sparingly, and it's got to be done at moments where it makes sense. And that's kind of where this film loses me a little bit, because there's a lot here. There's a lot of comedy moments that just don't feel like they belong in this film. And there's a whole scene with a babysitter and a young kid. And the kid, by the way, is hysterical. Like, he's a really funny kid. Like, I forgot to look up who played this kid, but he's great. I'd love to see him in other things. Cool little kid. But his whole scene and the way he was interacting with the babysitter was pretty much just played for laughs for the most part of that scene. And it just feels very disjointed with what else is going on, because you've got Jamie Lee Curtis's character being pretty badass. You've got Michael escaping. You've got carnage going on. You've got violence. You've got all of this really dark stuff. And then just scenes played for comedy thrown in. And I didn't really appreciate that. As I say, I'm fine with comedy. I think it's important in movies like this to have some comedy, but done right, not overdone. And I think they did overplay that aspect of it a little. And there was quite a bit of story here that I kind of felt was unnecessary. Like, there was a fair bit of teen drama in this movie, and I kind of didn't want that. And that's my thing, maybe. Maybe it was just me, but I didn't want to see, you know, some things going on at a school dance, and if this boy's being nice to this girl, or if he's going to cheat on this girl. Like, that's not what I want from a Halloween movie. I just want Michael Myers to be walking around being an evil maniac. That's what I turn up for. That's why I buy my ticket to see a Halloween movie. And there's problems, too, with how Michael Myers gets involved with Laurie Strode's storyline here, because there's always that thing in movies where you can really tell if a character's done something purely to make a character get from A to B. And there's a lot of that in this movie, but most of them kind of fly under the radar a little bit. Most of them are forgivable, but there's one in particular, and this is a non-spoiler review, so I won't say what it is, but it's at the moment of a fairly significant twist, and it feels like that twist is only in the movie because they need to get Michael Myers closer to Laurie. That's the only reason it's there, because it sort of comes out of left field, and it doesn't feel vital to the plot, and it just feels a bit strange. It feels very, very tacked on. So yeah, it was just a plot device. But enough moaning, because this is a good film overall, I think. I love the violence in this one, because this is a very, very violent film. It's an 18 over here, and they don't come along too often, 18, so it's very exciting to see that it was one. And it pretty much earns that certificate. Like, if you want to see brains pouring out of somebody's skull, you come into the right movie, because that happens. It's disgusting. I loved it. And Michael Myers himself is downright terrifying again. The best thing about this character is that we don't really know why he's evil. Like, he just is. And Rob Zombie's movies try to explain that, and I'm not a huge fan of those. It's been a while since I've watched them, to be fair. But here, again, he's just the shape. Like, he's just this blank entity who enjoys killing. He has this primal urge to kill. There's no reason for it. He just does it. He loves it. He enjoys it. And he's good at it. and that's fully on display in this film. It's one of the best things about it, I think, is the character of Michael Myers. So sinister, so creepy, so terrifying, and I'm just on edge whenever he's on the screen, whenever you hear his breathing that he does, that infamous breath, just, every single time it gives me shivers, and yeah, he's used brilliantly in this one. As is Jamie Lee Curtis, who, quite frankly, is awesome. She steals the movie. She's so good as Laurie, and as I say, she's a very different Laurie Strode to the character we met before. Very, very different. She's very hardened. She's very changed by what's happened to her, and it's affected her whole life. Not just hers, it's affected her husband. She's divorced. She's got a kid that doesn't really like her. She's got a grandchild who does like her but doesn't get to see her all that often. And what really works about it is that it's easy to understand why she's like this. She's seen Michael Myers firsthand do what he can do, and she's ready for the moment that he's going to break out because she knows that it's coming. And when that moment does come, she's fully prepared for it. But what's really, really good is that even though she is prepared, she's not like a soldier. She's not like a mindless super soldier. She's somebody who still, you can tell, is afraid. That she's being incredibly brave and she will try and take him down no matter what. But she is scared at the same time. So there's still a great deal of humanity to the character of Laurie. And it would have been so easy to just make her this, as a hardened figure who would just walk around with a shotgun, not really caring what happens to her as long as she gets that kill. But she's not like that at all. She cares about her family. She even cares about her own safety to a degree. It's a nuanced performance, I think, by Jamie Lee Curtis, and it really helps the character of Laurie. And I enjoyed the rest of the main cast in here as well. Judy Greer is great as her daughter. Like, she's really, really good. She's another character because of the performance. You can empathise with her. She's very, very cold to Laurie, but you get it. Like, you see through flashbacks why she is, and it totally makes sense. And then there's Zandy Matichak as her granddaughter, who I'm not familiar with. I don't think I've really seen her in anything before. If I have, I don't remember it, but I thought she was really good in this. Really strong performance, because there's a lot of this movie where she's holding it up, where she's the main focus. Quite a lot of it is Laurie, but there are a lot of scenes where she is the one front and centre. And some of those scenes, unfortunately, are involving a school dance and her boyfriend, but she's still good in them. She still puts in a good performance. And I cared about her character as well. All three of these women, actually, I cared about. I didn't want any of them to get hurt. The rest of the characters, not so much. Will Patton's police officer, I quite liked, but that's only because I really like Will Patton. The character himself, there isn't a great deal to him. And there's some other supporting characters too that don't really come across all that well, particularly two of the characters involved in that teen storyline. Both of them are very, very irritating characters. But really, this is quite a small cast when it comes to key players, which I like. It makes this feel like a very confined film. You get the two podcasters doing interviews at the beginning of the movie, but they don't feature a huge amount in it, which is a good thing, I think. It very quickly focuses on the characters that we should be caring about, which is the Strode family, and, we don't really care about Michael, but he's the person that we want to see on screen. There's a doctor as well, Dr. Sartin, who's taken over from Loomis, and he's fine, I guess. Like, I wasn't overly struck by that character. I didn't think the performance was overly strong. It was either that or he wasn't written overly well. Like, I didn't really connect to that character at all. But as I say, the main three people that we should genuinely care about, we should be emotionally invested in, absolutely 100% Halloween nails it. And it really helped to watch the first Halloween just before going to see this as well, because there's so many great nods to the first one. The opening credits to this, the opening title sequence is incredible. I love it. It's basically the same as the Halloween one, but in this one, the pumpkin starts as rotten and comes back to life again as the credits go on. It's done so well. The original music is used a number of times in this one, much like it was in the first. It keeps popping up, and every time it does, it's exciting. That music never gets old. And it's Easter eggs galore. I mean, it's not done to the point where it's distracting, but there's so many good ones. There's a scene early on where you've got Laurie's granddaughter Alison sitting in a classroom daydreaming. She gazes out the window, and there's Laurie. Whereas, of course, in the first Halloween movie, it was Laurie gazing out the window and there was Michael Myers. And there's a number of moments like that. There's a number of things that just call back to that first one, and later ones as well, actually, but just in really nice ways. It doesn't feel too much like fan service. It kind of blends into the plot quite well. But I loved that. I love little callbacks. As I say, it helped that I just watched the first one again just before seeing it, because I was able to pick up on quite a lot of them. But yeah, there's tons. Let me know in the comments which ones you saw, by the way. So I don't think Halloween is as good as Halloween. You see, the title thing doesn't really work. But I don't think it's as good. I don't think it's anywhere near as good. I've got many issues with this movie, but what I can take away from it the most is that I had a really, really good time with it. despite the problems that I have, there's so much of it that I did enjoy and I did love, that it kind of all balances out. This is definitely an enjoyable movie. It's one that I'm glad that I saw. I hope we don't get a sequel to it, because the way it ends feels like we'll be stretching credibility again, and it feels like that's what the Halloween franchise has done for quite some time. This feels a little bit more grounded, and it would be nice to keep it that way, but I don't know how they can if we get another. And if they do get another, just don't call it Halloween again. Call it something different. I'm going to give Halloween an 8 out of 10. Have you seen Halloween yet? If so, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Let me know your favourite Halloween movie as well. Maybe even rank them all if you've got some time on your hands. Let me know what your worst is, right up to your best. Let's just talk Halloween. And your favourite slasher movies as well. I'm kind of in the mood for Halloween now. So yeah, let's talk Halloween-y stuff. Hit like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video and you want to see more. There'll be more reviews coming soon. Bohemian Rhapsody review will be on the way next week. Really excited to see that one. You can follow me on Twitter as well, @JoeJulians, which is also my name on Stardust, if you want to check that app out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.